Hey everybody, this is Eric Westers with Aquilius, and we're here having a conversation with Erica Mawby-Roche, who is the Senior Director for Programs at the Termeer Foundation. And one of the reasons we're having this conversation is because you can actually talk to Erica in person if you come to the meet and greet with Termeer that's going to be at Aquilius in the next week. So hopefully you're watching this before then, but if not, it's still a good interview. You can still reach out to Erica and the Termeer Foundation. So this won't be a wasted interview, no matter how you do, but we're just going to get to know Erica a little bit. Erica, welcome.
Awesome. Thank you for having me.
Yeah. So have you been to San Diego before?
Yes, we were most recently out there for bio back in June.
Very good.
Yes.
So it's returned to San Diego. Good for you.
Yes,
Uh,
yes. It's a
so you're
beautiful.
here obviously because we're talking about solving some of our most important problems, which has to do with making the world better. And one of the ways you make world better is making people better, healthier. And so that's where Aquilius and Termeer Foundation anybody who's turning great ideas into life science solutions. And Aquilius kind of does resource and more things like that. Termeer Foundation is a little more on connecting with people, and that's why we're connecting with Erica. So this nonprofit career, you've been in nonprofit basically your whole career. You didn't choose physics, or you didn't become a firefighter. You chose the nonprofit career. Was there one particular event you can remember talking to something, an event you went to, which says nonprofit, that's what I want to do?
So growing up, I actually read a book that really, I think, set me on my helping journey. So I read White Oleander, and it was this story. I'm sure some people have read the book or seen the movie, but it's about this girl who, her mother unfortunately goes to prison and she's in and out of foster care. And I just thought, and she has this horrible experience in these foster homes. And I was just like, oh my goodness, I want to do something to help the world and help people, and children should never be in this situation. And unfortunately, that's not exactly where my career path took me, but in every step along the way, I continue to be in roles or engage in opportunities where I can hopefully make a positive impact on others in
So
the communities.
anchor us in your life when you read this book. Were you 5 years
I
old?
high school. High school.
High school.
Yeah. Yep.
So you decided this is what you want to do. So you went to college. Did your college journey focus on helping in nonprofits?
Yes, quite significantly, actually. So I went to St. Anselm's, which is a small liberal arts school in Manchester, New Hampshire. And while I was there, I ended up just randomly being put my freshman year, first semester, in a sociology class. And I had wanted to be in a psych class, but I ended up in this social class because it was overfilled, and I ended up loving it. I was just like, oh my goodness, this is it. This is my major. This is what I'm going to do. And through that major and my main track of education, we had opportunities to engage in service learning. So instead of doing extra coursework, we could spend time being assigned to other nonprofits in the Manchester, New Hampshire community and gain credit from essentially working there or volunteering there and learning and writing about how that experience related directly to the class concepts. And so I was placed at a number of different service learning opportunities. One in particular was an organization called Girls Inc., which worked with young girls in the greater Manchester community for before and after school programming. And I just loved it. I loved every experience. And so I continued to be in those positions where I could be a resource.
Let's talk about one of those experiences, because we all deal with positive feedback. If we get positive feedback, we want to keep doing something. So obviously something you did there gave you that sense of fulfillment or well-being or helping something that you liked. To give us an example of one thing that you did at Girls, what was the name of the charity again?
Girls Inc. Girls
I
Inc.
thought that's what it was. I want to make sure. Girls Inc. So Girls Inc. Um, tell me about one thing you did to help people where somebody really gave you positive feedback to know that you'd actually made a difference.
I think an example of that would be there's this young girl there who I developed a rapport with, and her mom worked multiple jobs, was really stretched thin, didn't have a partner in the picture to assist. And so on the weekends, she would ask me if I would be willing to take this daughter out and, do activities with her, or in the evenings, I would take her to extra events or games and different things in the community. And I developed a really nice relationship with this girl, and it was just so meaningful. And the mother was so grateful because she didn't have the bandwidth to do these things. And she was just extremely
How do
appreciative.
you think that impacted that girl's life and the mom's life specifically? How was her life different?
I hope that it was just valuable. Like, oh, thank you for her doing this. She didn't have to go to a daycare or do something less fun on the weekends. Like, hopefully that was like, thank you for being a resource and exposing her to some fun things out and about in the city.
Do you think any of that had a lasting impact with her?
Hopefully, I hope I'm only making positive impacts on anyone that I'm engaging with, or,
Well,
you know,
obviously made the mother feel
yeah.
more, because there's that sense of I don't have the time because I'm a single parent, which I can't imagine being a single being a parent at all is hard, a single parent without that support system. So obviously that was a big burden lifted off her, and she appreciated it
Yeah.
enough. So how did this lead into another nonprofit?
Yeah, so I graduated from college, and I ended up moving into Massachusetts, and I started working at a human services agency in the Merrimack Valley, which is kind of a cluster of a few towns in northern Massachusetts. And we were focused on working with adults with disabilities in the area. So I led their day and employment programs, and it was not a population I ever thought I would work with. That wasn't a group that I actually intersected with a lot in college. But I had some experience in career services and job development from another role. And so I actually started by leading their veterans employment program. And then I was with the organization for about 8 years. And by the
Mhm.
end, like I said, in that position where I was leading their programming across those departments.
So what do you like about shaping programs?
What do I like about shaping programs? I don't identify as a very creative person. However, I think it's a creative way for me to make impact. So you get to literally create and mold and iterate and try new things and pivot and pilot. And that's really exciting.
So,
Um,
so how do you know if a program is a success? How do you know if it has an impact? How,
yeah, that's a great
how
question.
can how can you tell whether you created a great program or just an okay program? What's
Yeah,
what's one measure, one thing that you would look at as a program director to say this is a good one?
do people come back? Do they continue to engage? I think that's a big one. And of course, just asking, like, hey, did you like that? Did that land? And not being afraid of realizing, like, there's definitely been things that I've done that have been like, oh gosh, that did not go the way I thought. And not being afraid of that, being like, okay, that didn't go to plan. Let's try something different.
Okay, so if they tell other people and they come back and you ask the person, they give you good feedback is good sign. So I like veteran employment. Good. Good for
Yeah.
you on that and the rest of what you did. So Termeer Foundation, did
Yeah.
they find you or did you find them?
So I found them. So as I mentioned, I'd been in my previous role for about 8 years, which was through COVID, and the position had just changed a lot, as did everybody's role during that time. But I was looking to try something new, and I honestly got on Indeed, and I saw the posting, and I read it, and I was like, oh, like I feel like I have some transferable skills. I did pause and was like, I don't know anything about biotech, unfortunately. My background is not in science. But I applied, and I didn't know where it would lead, and they called me, and I went through the interview process, and every step of the way I was like, this all sounds amazing and it's extremely interesting and exciting, but I don't know biotech. And thankfully our executive director is a wonderful leader and was able to see the fact that I did have these transferable skills, and that I could learn what I needed to learn through asking questions and doing research and listening to the people that were supporting.
Okay, so did they have a lot of programs already? You could just step in there, or did you have to go to work creating these programs that we talked about?
That's a great question. So some existed. So the Termeer Fellows program started as an initiative after Henry Termeer unexpectedly and unfortunately passed away. And members of his community came together and wanted to do something to honor him as a mentor and a connector. And so that's the framework for our program. And so when I came on board, we had an amazing group of mentors that our fellows could access. There was some light programming. They did some neat lunch and learns where they had industry experts come in. But something that our executive director had heard is that people were really, really looking for a little bit more structure, a cadence to a program. And so that's what we've built. So at this point, we've built a values-driven leadership program with 100 hours of content a year and 60 mentors, as well as executive coaches and network building opportunities.
Okay.
So it's
So
changed
you
a lot.
approach with this idea that, like Henry Termeer, we really want to connect people and mentor people. So it's all about, so our success is whether we can get people to find each other and easily connect and actually do those things. So it's not just about, did you have a nice chat? It's, are we working together on projects and programs like that? Was there one or is there one or a few people you connected that had that result to make you realize that, hey, this is a good program? How do you know whether they're connecting? Or how do you
Yeah.
know?
How do you know? That's a great question. So when a new class of fellows comes in every year, we ask them a series of questions just to kind of gauge like where they're at in their leadership journey, what they're seeking, what would make the program a success for them. And one of those questions is, what are they seeking mentorship around? And then we look at, their company profile and our mentors' areas of expertise, and then we make formal introductions based on that. So those are one-to-one introductions. And then we also host a number of different events. So an example is last winter, we hosted a panel with two of our mentors and two of our alumni fellows. And a specific fellow reached out to one of the mentors afterwards. We had a networking component after the panel, and she introduced herself and asked if she could follow up. And after that, they developed a really nice rapport. And that mentor has helped this fellow specifically on her company pitch and personal presentation skills. And I'm excited to announce that in June, this person won the Bio Startup Stadium, which is wonderful. And the mentor has actually become one of her formal company advisors. So, meeting at this networking event where she heard this mentor speak, and she wanted to connect with her further. And I think it's a great example of exactly what we're trying to do.
So what I hear, one of your expertise is being able to pull from people what they want and clear, because that's hard.
Yeah.
Defining you, yourself, defining your company, defining where you want, that's really hard. It's, I call that the dental chair part of the process, where you put it and try and say, why are you here? What do you want? But I get that as part of your skill set, is being able to turn in English. This is what you want. This is what success looks like. The second part of your program is making sure you have a big enough pool, and your successes, are we connecting them with people that actually make the progress toward what they want. And then the larger aspect is, are they actually getting what they want? And obviously the example you gave, that's kind of hitting the ball out of the park a little more than did you just get what you expected or what you want. So it's those kind of stories. So really what you're talking about is, how can we get more of those stories out in the world, and then they become part of your pool of people to connect with, right? I assume that once now that person's moved up a bit, they're still a resource for other people.
Absolutely. One of the philosophies we have at the Termeer Foundation is once a fellow, always a fellow. So we offer programming, network building opportunities. We ask alumni fellows to leverage the network. We want them to continue being engaged, and we think that's a great, valuable addition to the program.
So let's talk about your work day. There's obviously going to be things you like, things you love, things you're okay with, and things you don't particularly enjoy but have to get done. That's every work day I've ever known. Let's start with um, if there's one thing that I could wave my magic wand and you wouldn't have to do anymore, AI would do it or something, what would be that one thing, that part of your day that is really essential, that must be done, but if you had your way, it would get done without you having to personally do it?
I think finding the perfect venue, it's oddly tedious. So when we host events, which are of course so important, we want that in-person engagement. We obviously are looking for specific things in venues, and I just want like this beautiful Rolodex with all the pictures and all the stats and all the details that I want. And I'm sure AI could probably do that for me. I just need to figure it out.
It's interesting you say that. A friend of mine, that's exactly what she's working on.
I love that.
And she's busy figuring out how to put AI in that. So you're not the only one with
Perfect.
that, but we'll talk. Um, So let's go the other end. What's one thing that you would be upset at if I said, no, AI is going to do this from now on, Erica? You can't do this anymore. What would you go grabbing? I'd have to rip it from your hands. What is that part of your job that you do like the most?
Yeah, I think it's something that we kind of brought up earlier is that creative element to our work. I love the fact that we're not an organization, we're not a program that says, oh, this is what we've always done. This is, this is just how it's been. This is what we're going to continue doing. Every year we want to iterate, we want to make sure our offerings are unique, dynamic, different, and most importantly, meeting the needs of the people that we're supporting. A specific example is last year we heard from the class of fellows that it was a really difficult fundraising landscape. It continues to be a really difficult fundraising landscape, but we just like every time we would bring them together in person, like amongst themselves, they were talking about it. And to us as, organizers of the program, they were talking about it. So what we decided to do was launch some mini grants to the class of fellows, specifically focused on their fundraising needs. So they could use this bit of money to work with anybody that they wanted on something. It just had to be related to fundraising. So whether it was their pitch deck and design, their strategy, their personal presentation skills, their website design, didn't matter to us, just how could it benefit them? And the feedback that we heard from fellows was that, they're small early stage biotech companies. So it's really difficult for them to make resource allocations. And the fact that we gave them this small allocation of money allowed them to really prioritize that, to work with a professional, to get guidance. And they were just extremely appreciative. And so I would hate if we ever lost that creative, responsive element.
Well, hopefully we can help with that too, because part of our Aquilius arm is Aquilius Ventures. So our job is making sure that companies get funded and we have them pitch every month and get feedback. So it's not just pitch, how do we do? No, it's pitch. And everybody has to actually write a report on their pitch, whether they get funded or not. So
Great.
hopefully we can work together on that kind of thing. Okay. So things are changing in the world. Things are getting more connected, more automated, and there's a lot more noise that you have to clear out to find the good funding sources or that kind of thing. What do you think? What are you most excited about that you think is going to happen within 1 to 5 years? Some change, some transformation in what you do that's going to get easier, more powerful. If you were to pick one thing to look into your crystal ball and make a prediction, what do you think that would be?
Yeah, I think I have to go with the whole reason why we're coming back out to San Diego is geographic expansion. So we are a global program. We have fellows from 8 countries and 6 states, and that's amazing and really exciting. We have some amazing partners all over the globe, but up until this point, our geographic reach has really happened organically, and we're wanting to be a lot more thoughtful and purposeful and building partnerships like with Aquilius to make sure that we're, identifying and supporting different areas that we are not currently located in. And so I think in the next couple of years, we'll continue to formalize our geographic expansion and hopefully at some point have little hubs in other places beyond Boston, which would be really exciting.
Very good. What's the one thing about you that would surprise people the most?
Yeah. So what people have frequently commented that they're surprised to learn about me is that I'm actually very introverted. So I think in my role, I spend a lot of time externally engaging, hosting programming days, meeting with people, facilitating events, but I actually am quite introverted. So I use those extroversion in my job.
So after we have the big meet and greet where people come get you, you're going to go back to your hotel room and pull out that book, like the one that started this whole journey, and you're just going to sit and read and get
Probably.
consider yourself. Well, is there anything else you think that the world should know about you or the Termeer Foundation?
Please come join us on October 9th at Aquilius, our wonderful host, to learn more about the fellowship and the foundation. You can also check out our website, which is termeerfoundation.org. Termeer is Termeer. And we'd love to hear from you.
So Termeer Foundation .org, but also on LinkedIn, for
Yes.
example. And
Yes.
of course, make sure and like Aquilius, because we're Aquilius on YouTube and Aquilius on LinkedIn and Aquilius on Instagram. So do that because that's where we'll be posting more of this information and all that. And you can go ahead. I'm sure there'll be a link if the event is, if you're getting this before the event, I'm sure
Yep.
there's a link there, but we're going to have lots of events. So this will not be the only time we do events. So Aquilius has lots of events to plug into in person and vote virtually. So everybody, thanks for watching. Erica, thank you for being here.
Thank you.